Thank you so much. We will have to move on to the next session for today. And our next speaker is going to be speaking to us on navigating scholarship and international opportunities in the present days. And our next speaker for today is Mr. Dayo Oladipo, who is an entrepreneur and US immigration consultant and the founder of Straight Green Card LLC and Vermerix firms dedicated to helping exceptional professionals, researchers, and entrepreneurs navigate complex US immigration pathways. He's also an engineer and storyteller at Arts. He resides in the New York, is married and blessed with a wife, which Mrs. Esther. And he will be, like I said, he'll be speaking with us on how to navigate scholarships and international opportunities. Please join me this evening as we make welcome Mr. Dai Oladipo, and he'll be speaking to us for the next 35 minutes. Mr. Dai Oladipo, over to you, sir.
Hi, thank you very much, Mufi follower, for having me. Thank you very much, everyone. And thank you very much, Bro Peter, for that very insightful session. Today, I'm going to be talking about navigating scholarships and international opportunities in the present days. I coined it a little bit to, to also fit into, my worldview about how all of these things work. So I would be talking specifically about how success leaves footprints. So permit me to share my screen. Mufi follower, do you mind? If you can see my screen, just let me know, right when you can see my screen. Can everybody see my screen now? All right, sounds good. All right, so we're going to be talking, bring the call back here. All right, so we're going to be talking about how success leaves footprints and how to use public clues to access global opportunities, why getting scholarships, funded degrees, and internships is easier now than ever before, most especially if you know where to look. So the challenge that a lot of people have, most especially with these kinds of opportunities, is that, there's so much information out there. There's so many things to do. There's literally nothing about scholarships that is not online, yet people don't have the ability to really, make the best use of it. So I want to make sure that today I will demystify how exactly you should take advantage of these opportunities. 1 second. All right. So one of the things that we have right now, of course, is the truth that success leaves clues. When people do something, it doesn't just happen in a vacuum. They generally, before someone gets to where they currently are, right, they would have stepped on some parts and that would have left some footprint. And that footprint is usually how another person can also get to that specific place. And, a lot of people underestimate how important that is, most especially when it comes to building a very successful career. So, nobody randomly got into like a fully funded scholarship abroad or PhD program. Nobody accidentally landed a competitive summer scholarship. Generally, people follow concrete steps, deliberate decisions, and strategic plans that can basically take them to where they used to go. When I grew up in Nigeria some years ago, let me say 10 15 10 15 years ago, it wasn't as easy to get scholarships. You just hear that there's this person from your environment who is no longer here. He has traveled to the UK or she has traveled to the US or Australia or whatever. Generally, people don't know exactly how they got there, and it's also very hard to really understand how these people got some of these opportunities, because at that time you needed like internet insider information. You needed to, literally some of the scholarships that they would apply for back in those days would be pasted on the department's notice board, or the HOD would just tell somebody to go and apply for something, and then they'll send an envelope and whatever. And so generally those processes are not out there. You don't know how people got to where they are. You just know that, uncle to travel, like this person has traveled, and that's all you know, right? But these days, you really had all of those information out in the open, and you can literally replicate it to your own journey. So, right before, the whole thing used to be like a black box. People don't know what's going on, but right now you can literally see how exactly people got to where they got to. Right. Currently in the US right now, people can, 5 minutes, go and check how I went from, Bishop Smith, Ilorin, right? I don't know how many people knew that school, to New York, right? So it's pretty, it's pretty wild, like how much information is out there right now. So today, people document their journeys publicly on social platforms. LinkedIn is very important. I'm still going to talk every day about it. Today, I'm going to show you practical examples of people who took advantage of these opportunities. LinkedIn exposes universities publish outcomes and alumni data. LinkedIn exposes career paths and not just job titles. And information is democratized and searchable. So this is the most transparent era in the history of academics and career mobility. It's never been so easy to really know how exactly someone got to where they are right now. And it's not just that. It's also that it's never been so easy to really connect to those people. When I was growing up, when I was in, primary school, secondary school, and even if a family member travels abroad, that would probably be, one of the last times you hear about them in a long time, right? Even those that are close to them, family members and all of that, will not be, excuse me, will not be able to reach out as easily. But now you can literally reach out to somebody, excuse me, um, you can literally reach out to somebody that you don't know, that you've never met before, who has had some of these opportunities, just to connect with them and, get some kind of insights from them, right? So you don't just have access to knowing exactly, you don't just have access to seeing their footsteps, but you can also have access to connecting with them in person. So that's also, those are two things I want us to think about. The first is that we know how they got it by just looking at their profile and looking at their experiences and their history, and of course, by also being able to connect with them in person. We're going to talk about all of these things very soon. All right. So, like I said, one of the things that you want to do when you identify what exactly you want to do in your career is to identify, the kinds of scholarships. We're going to look at some of those examples right now. Of course, I can't share like all the links right now on this call, but we are going to be sharing some materials right after the meeting. With the conveners of this event. So there will be a handbook on scholarships, there will be links and all of that that will be posted in the group. So please, if you just plan to attend and not join the group, please don't. We are going to be sharing the helpful materials. So the first thing that you want to do, of course, is to identify the target, figure out people who have done what you want to do before, map their journey, right? Uh, Figure out exactly what they did to get to where they want to get to. We're going to, if I have enough time, we'd probably do some short practicals on that, and see these people in real life. And I hope that you replicate it, in your free time. Uncover their playbook, build your roadmap, right? Because one of the most difficult things that you can do is to be trying to achieve a goal and you don't have people who are, doing the same thing, or people who have done the same thing. So typically what you want to do when you're trying to achieve a goal is to either find people who are doing the same thing or people who have done the same thing. It's very important. You can see traces of that in the Bible. You know, before David became king, he first served at the palace. Even Saul, Saul that was a, his father's son was tending to his father's properties, animals and all of that. The Bible made us understand that when he was in the midst of prophets, he prophesied. Like environment matters a lot. So again, you might see yourself as, okay, I'm in Lagos. I don't really have all those connect and all. You can surround yourself with these with people of like minds by just going on LinkedIn and connecting with them, having conversations, and starting a community. And exactly that's why this community is also available. So you should join a community that the organizers of this event will create right after the meeting. So yeah, so the first thing you want to do is identify your target, map the journey, uncover their playbook, and build your roadmap. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the kinds of scholarships that are available across different regions. For example, for Europe is generally an avenue where you can get opportunities for the typical opportunities in Europe are Erasmus for masters students, and generally for that, you would go across three different institutions in generally three different countries to study typically a STEM designated program, so more like a science E program in three countries in Europe for your master's degree. Um, then there are quite a number of other, there are some other scholarship opportunities to study for master's in Europe. Some of them are institution backed, some are also government backed, like the Stipendum Hungary. I'm going to be giving more in-depth details in the handbook. Of course, we can't share the links, or you won't be able to, it won't be useful on screen. And of course, there are quite a number of other ones, like the Miracle
50,000.
for
Have you said
PhD students
8,000?
and postdocs.
Okay,
The grant
14,000.
roots Moradeo. All right. So, and in Asia, universities like countries like China, Japan, South Korea also have very impressive scholarship opportunities. In North Korea and North America, US has a lot of opportunities, but usually these come as a graduate teaching experience and not necessarily a scholarship, if you may. So there are also a few scholarships over there in China, but an overwhelming amount of scholarships are available in the US. Over the last 1 year, that well, and I believe that maybe over the next 6 months, there might be issues around US student visas and all of that. So if you're trying to apply to the US, that might also be something that you have to keep in mind. So one of the things that you want to do is to also have a backup. So if you're applying to the US, you also want to apply to Canada or to China and places like that. All right. So our funding opportunities, I'm going to talk about, funding opportunities in Asia. So that would be in China, in South Korea, in Japan. I also went to China myself before I came to the US. So one of the popular scholarships in China is the Chinese government scholarship, right? So yeah, that's typically going to cover your tuition, your housing, insurance, and so on and so forth. Um, and then there are some universities that basically sponsor you to come over to China. Some provinces, some provinces or municipalities also sponsor, and some companies would also give industry sponsored funding to come over to their institution. So I would say that China has probably the most scholarship opportunities in the world right now. There's tons and tons and tons and tons of scholarships in China. And I think that the opportunities continue to exist today. And it's not just limited to people who graduated in first class. I've seen people who graduated with a 2-2. Maybe I'm not sure about the third class. I'm not sure, but I'm sure that I've seen someone who graduated with a 2-2 who went to China. So again, good grades are good, but once you graduate, there's nothing you can do about your grades. So just try not to disqualify yourself. Apply for opportunities. If they disqualify you, it's fine, but don't say that because you didn't graduate with like first class or something that you not give yourself the best possible shot. Of course, you want to read their their eligibility criteria. If they don't state the CGPA or whatever, then please give yourself a shot. All right. So for South Korea, they have the Global Career Scholarship. That's the GKS scholarships for graduate studies. It also covers masters and PhDs and all of that. There are some universities or some labs within universities that offer scholarships, and there are some other industry-linked research grants. So, for example, um, you know, some specific companies, maybe Samsung might be, giving some kinds of scholarship. Again, someone asked if there's a link to apply for this. I said yes, that we're going to share that after the meeting in the group. Right. So the next scholarship is also a scholarship from Japan. And it's a very popular and competitive scholarship. I think they only take first class, but again, you might want to read the eligibility requirement. If they do not, if there is you know, if they do not specifically state that, of course, you should apply. There are some universities that also give tuition waivers, but generally, in the case of tuition waivers, it means you're not going to pay the school fees, but you're still going to be responsible for your own well-being. You're still going to be responsible for your own support in terms of feeding, accommodation, and so forth. Um, all right. So we're going to be going to. So we've talked about. Okay, so we're going to be going to Europe. So one of the popular scholarships in Europe would be the Marie Curie Scholarship, typically for PhD and postdoc. I spoke about it before. Erasmus for master's degree holder. That's generally to study across three institutions in Europe. The DAD scholarships is for masters and PhD in Germany, and there are quite a few scholarships in UK. It's not as popular, uh, and the opportunities are not a lot, but there's still a few of them. So, Nordic Research Council funding for scholarships in Norway, in Sweden, and in Denmark. Generally, these cover your tuition fees, monthly living allowances, research and travel grants. So you can go for conferences and all of that in some of these places. All right. The United States, like I said, generally has GTA, that's graduate teaching assistantship. So typically what you do is that you will work as a TA. So a teaching assistant is somebody who assists a professor to either teach or to do some auxiliary work uh, that comes with the teaching experience. So, for example, if a professor is teaching, you can also hold lessons and grade script and all of that. So, don't be so caught up with some of these things that, well, I don't know if I can even do it. If they take you, you will be able to do it. No one is born with like a lot of these things. Everyone gets there. Everyone starts very worthwhile things confused. So confusion is the default. So once you get into that that environment, you will learn the ropes. You will do well. I'm here to see somebody who flopped, like who failed terribly at being a TA. But I am also here to see somebody who had a very excellent first day. So don't discount or don't limit yourself from accessing these opportunities because you think you can't do it. If you think you can't do it right now, it's normal. Like everybody thinks so, right? Everybody thought so at some point. So graduate research assistantship. So instead of like teaching people this, you're probably just in the lab, working and doing whatever your professor is telling you to do, right? There are some fellowships. So instead of doing a T or RA, they just give you free money. So that's essentially what it means. And sometimes the government offers fellowships. It's very, very rare, but that happens. Most of the time, there is just GTA, GRA, or sometimes departmental scholarships. All right. So in Canada, we also have pretty much the same. People come in as graduate teaching assistants or research assistants. Again, it means that you're not going to pay for your PhD or for your masters or whatever. You are going to be a student. You are going to come to the US or to Canada for free, but you know off hours. You're going to attend class as a student, but at some specific points, you would also maybe grade students and so forth. So it's not like they would. Sometimes they will tell you to go and get the marking scheme, but like all these things, like the activities that you're actually going to do, are things that you will be able to do eventually. So um, don't disqualify yourself from such opportunities. So typically you get your full tuition, your monthly stipend, your health insurance, and all of that. So one of the things that you want to do, again, I'm going to be talking a little bit about like people who are research focused because typically master's degree is research focused. So it doesn't have to be like it's science, technology, engineering, and maths research. It could be social science research. It could be any kind of research, really. So one of the things that you want to do is to build your research portfolio early. So one of the things I did, by the grace of God, I think it was just happenstance, so it was just luck. Um, when I was in when I was doing my NYSC, I served at the university, and so I was able to publish one paper with a lecturer in that university. So I put that so I sent a message to a professor in China that, oh, I published this paper on, agricultural ecosystems, yada, 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 and so forth. And then he was like, oh, nice, send me the paper. And then he gave me a scholarship and I came to China, right? So it could be that easy, it could be that fast. So one of the things that you want to do, of course, is to build your research portfolio early. You can do it as an undergrad. When I was in the US, like my early days in the US, there was one guy, there is one guy. At that time, he had like, I don't know, tons of papers, and he was still in Nigeria. He was still, I think, a student in University of Learning or something like that. But the point I'm just trying to make is like people can literally build their portfolio. You don't have to know how to do all of these things. You just have to want to do it. All right. I think that's the first thing. You don't have to know how right now. You just have to want to do it. The know-how is what we're talking about right now. How exactly do you access opportunities when you don't even know where to start? There's so much information out there. How exactly do you accept access opportunities when where you don't know where to start? And that's why we talk about LinkedIn and so on and so forth. And we're also going to demonstrate that during the course of this meeting. Please let me know once I am maybe 75% done with my time, so we manage time early. So one of the things that you want to do is to build your research portfolio. So again, you can collaborate with people on research. I can show you how to do that. um, I will focus a lot of my presentation away from that, but in the what's it called, in the guide I can make a few tweaks and update it and send it to the group. And now you can do that. All right. So one of the things that you also want to do is professional outreach. Like I said, that you've got to be able to connect with people. You have to be able to reach out to people who have done or who have gotten opportunities that you are looking for. That's number one. And people who will open doors for you. So what I mean is this. For example, like I told you that when I was trying to get a scholarship in China, I reached out to a professor who, accepted me, enrolled me in that scholarship, and I was able to, move to China, right? I think it was the same for Turkey. I'm not sure because I also got a scholarship in Turkey. I didn't go, but I think it was the same. I'm not quite sure. It's been a while. But the point I'm just trying to make is you would need to be able to reach out to people, and there's an art to doing that, most especially now in this age of social media. So one of the things that you want to do is to reach out to them with the intention and to let them know that you have an interest in them. So you don't just want to reach out and send like a random message, and it doesn't. That message has nothing to do with the work that they're currently doing. It's not specific. That message looks like something that you could have sent to 50 other professors. You get, so that's not something that you want to do. You want the message to appear that you have actually taken time to study their work and all of that. Another thing, another kind of person that you want to talk to would be people who have actually done it. So not just professors that you're trying to get into their lab or whatever, but people who have actually done, what you want to do. And there are reasons why you should reach out to people who have done what you want to do. I think one of the, you know, important things is, number one, you'll be able to see, you know, real examples of, how to do stuff, and they can guide you and let you know what pitfalls to avoid and so on and so forth. And number two, they can also speak to whoever on your behalf, to give you opportunities. A lot of people think that, well, in Nigeria, once you know somebody, things will be probably better for you. But if you don't know somebody, things aren't great. But abroad is not like that. No, it's also like that. Leg is also very important here in the US. In anywhere, like anywhere. If you know someone, they would. It's always better. That's the truth. Like if someone puts in a word for you, um, it always open doors for you. So if you see someone on LinkedIn who is a Nigerian who has gotten an opportunity that you want to get, you can talk to them. They can put in a good word for you. It has happened a number of times. I've seen it. I've lived it, and I would advise you to try it. Okay. All right. So, like I would say that information is not scarce. Interpretation is. I know that like a lot of people would say, there's so much going on. I'm very confused. I don't know exactly where to start. There are so many people say, writing tips online, too many conflicting opinion. This one is saying that, this one is saying, don't send a message to a professor, apply first. Another person saying, apply to apply, send a message before you apply. Do you get like there's so many conflicting information. But you don't just want to consume information. You want to study patterns and apply proven network. So the question is not like what opportunities exist. The question is what paths have repeatedly worked for people like you, right? So you want to then, go on LinkedIn, talk about, figure out educational backgrounds, experience timeline, and so on and so forth. I'm going to talk a little bit about this. I don't know if I have enough time. I always skipping the time. I just let me know how much time I have left, so I want to share my screen and all of that. So let me share my second screen, and then we go on LinkedIn um, right now. 1 second. Please let me know once you can see my LinkedIn. All right.
Your gas is on.
All right.
Yeah.
So can you hear me? Can you also see my LinkedIn? Sounds good. All right. So I will let me go to Comfort Oladaya. These are people. She actually speaks on scholarships and all of that. So you can just basically see how exactly she got to where she currently is right now. Uh, you know, interestingly, you can even see the high school that she went to and all of that. But let's start from after having graduated from Landmark University, right? At From Landmark University in 2019. Then she went to University of Chester. It's very likely that this is a fully funded position. Not I think I know also I can talk about it, but it's I think that she did get a fully funded position. But if you're not sure if this is a fully funded position, you can just connect to her, send her a message, and clarify. Do you get like is this a fully funded position? Is it something I can apply for? What do you think would give me a leg up? What insights do you have for me and all of that? So generally, when you're asking a question from people who have actually done it, it helps a lot. And a lot of people are willing to help. Okay. So again, don't um bring don't don't close opportunities against yourself. So try as much as possible to apply. Now you can see that she went to University of Chester, and then she went to Università, whatever, the Padova. I think, I don't know where it is, probably in Italy. And then, of course, she came to the US to do another master's, an extension of a program at the University of Georgia. And of course, she's doing a PhD in the University of Georgia. So again, you can figure out, okay, you can ask her any of these questions. You can reach out. Um, we are connected, so you just like click on message and you start to reach out to her. If I click on message, it's going to show our previous conversation. I don't want to do that, but typically that's how you will go about it. And another thing that you want to do is to figure out, these people's certifications and credentials, and all of that. Maybe there are some specific certifications that help them. You want to look at it, and then of course ask them if they believe that any of these certifications help them. So if they confirm, then of course you might also be trying to look at how you can get some of these things too. All right, so that was one thing. And there's another thing that came to my mind. You might be thinking, well, I'm actually in 300 level now, I'm in 200 level. Okay, should I wait until I'm done and all of that? Actually, no. So I know a number of people who are either in Nigeria right now or have left Nigeria, who um, during summer they travel abroad, like every holiday or whatever, they travel abroad for summer internship opportunities. So it means that like when people are, even maybe sometimes their university is not on break or whatever, but in the US, there are opportunities to come here during summer and on scholarships and work and do research and even get paid and all of that. So that's quite interesting. You should look at these opportunities and take advantage of it. But how exactly can you do it? A lot of people can start and you know start googling and so forth. But one of the best ways to do it is to actually go and look at somebody. For example, I know Dami Lolagori has done it. I look at somebody who has done it, right, and then reach out to them and like, tell them to give you insight on how they did it. You can even schedule a WhatsApp call or whatever with them, and they can run you through all of this in a very short period of time. Look at him. So Gore went he studied vet medicine from 2017 to 2024. But while doing that, from 2017 to 2024, he has, done, research at EDE. That one is easy. You can ask him, okay, how did you get this opportunity? How can I get this opportunity? At the same time, he also came here, right here to New York, to, do his summer research fellowship for 3 months, right? And he also went to Kansas a year before then in the US here also for another 4 months. But while he was still, at University of Ibadan, right? And he had tons and tons of these experiences. He's now in the UK, he's now at Cambridge. So he also went to Cornell University while he was still in school. Do you get what I'm saying? So like then he went to Ohio State University. And while he was in school, there are some people who have mastered this stuff, and you are not very far away from them. You are just a click away from asking them questions. And then more recently was in Germany, right? And now he is now an MPhil candidate in Cambridge. So like before you would read about these guys in newspaper, you don't know exactly how they do this or what exactly they did, or you can't talk to them. But now you just, you know, I'm connected. So, but you want to just click on connect, right? And then talk to them once they accept your request and so on and so forth. Now, you know, not everyone would accept your request, that's for sure. But thankfully, they are not the only persons with this kind of opportunities. That even many, many more people with opportunities like that. Let me show you. I think I don't have enough time, but finally, I'll just show you how to do a random search if I have a minute. So I'm going to search for people. Let me see. Cornell University. So typically you want to search for people and then you want to either make sure that they are from Nigeria or something like that. So you can add a current or past location. and then you filter Nigeria, and you see all Nigerians that have been to Cornell or that have experiences with Cornell, and then you add them and you start talking to them that you're trying to come to this university on scholarship and whatever, and then you get insights from them. So let me go ahead and finish up my presentation, and then talk about, and then of course respond to what questions you might have. So LinkedIn is a public map, not a job board. Most people just scroll aimlessly through feeds. They compare themselves to others. They get intimidated and discouraged. They treat it like social media entertainment. So what you want to do is to investigate, you reverse engineer, you replicate, and of course you connect to people. You connect to people who are actually doing what you want to do. So don't ask yourself how smart is this person. Again, I believe that that's something that people want to do, but ask yourself what people did before they access opportunities. Ask them, ask what came immediately after their undergrad. Ask which country did they first move to? Why? Who are they connected to? Ask what research or internships appear repeatedly, and so on and so forth. So a common success pattern is basically undergraduate research experience, summer internships, masters, and PhD. All right. Thank you very much for your time. If you do have questions, definitely let me know. Um, Thank you very much, Mofi, for having me.
Thank you so much, Mr. Dayo Ladipo, for that session. Thank you. I'm sure everyone must have had answers to many of the questions they had before your session. Sometimes we think some opportunities are for some certain type of persons, but thank you for showing us how to do it right and the right strings to pull to also have access to these opportunities that we think are like far-fetched. Thank you so much, sir.